everybody. This is Kim from Country Craft Creations, and I was going to make a tutorial for this album that I made. It is using the cinch binding. I'm going to use the Companions paper by Authentique that was in my design team kit, and so I just thought I would show you what the album would look like before I started making the Companions one. This one is a little bit bigger than what I'm going to do for the next one, but it is using your cinch tool, so you'll have pages that you can add to look like a waterfall, but they use the cinch up at the top. So this is also an envelope on this side. So I have a quick video out there on the walkthrough of this, but I just thought I would show you what it is I'm going to be making with this paper collection. This is what I'll be using. This is, like I said, called Companions by Authentique, and let me get my mic closer so you can hear me. This is for the cat and dog lover out there. I really, don't shoot me, am neither. However, my sister loves dogs, and she recently had one of her dogs pass away, and she was heartbroken. And so this came to me at the perfect time so that I could make her an album that she can put pictures in of her dog. And so I will go through this and let you take a peek at the collection. It is, even though I don't have a dog, I'm not a dog hater. I like dogs. I just don't want them in my house. I think dogs are adorable. But this paper, whether you're a dog lover or not, you will fall in love with this collection. So the first thing that you see right here is the sticker collection, or the sticker page. And there are some really adorable stickers. They say best friend, companions. You have a flag or pennants that say so cute. You have kittens and dogs in pictures. So this really is a very usable sticker sheet. I mean, I'll probably end up using every single one, to be real honest. So that's the sticker sheet. The paper collection I'll go through rather quickly. Here's the cut aparts. On one side is dog, the other side is cats. This one is the dog side, obviously. And on the other side you have the cat page. Okay. This, I have to admit, is very cute. The cat with the glasses on. I think she's adorable. So after that, we have some paw prints, whether it be, and a collar. We have dogs on this side that are multicolored, kind of a burgundy or a, yeah, probably burgundy, brown, light blues, a little bit of pink in there. And then on this side, you have the cats. This is the all-time favorite sheet. Look at those adorable dogs down at the bottom. Now, even though they don't have a lab, which is what my sister had, she'll definitely appreciate that paper. This is the cat side. So for you cat lovers out there. Here is a plaid with a collage of like paper, newspaper. This is both cat and dog, so some of the things say dog lovers. This is cat grooming, so depending on where you cut, you might need to focus on the animal that you're doing. Here we have some more paw prints. Here is a beautiful floral. Here we have some more cut aparts that come in different sizes. The reason why I really was drawn to this is, like I said, my sister lost her dog, Murphy. And so this says, wait for me at the Rainbow Bridge. They'll probably bring a tear to her eye. In loving memory. So they really did do a good job of selecting sayings that could apply to a lot of the different situations. So loved, big baby, rescued is my favorite breed, playtime is the best time, obedience is highly overrated, good girl, I love dogs. So a good variety. And then same on the other side. You've got to be kidding me, right, meow? That's cute. More prints and a stripe. And then it repeats. So the paper collection matches the Spectrum line that is carried by Authentique. And so if you need some filler paper, you can match the colors. And so here it has a different design or print on each side. So like here's a stripe and the other one was not. Here, this one is a stripe. I don't know if you can tell, but it is. And then this side is more of a, what do you call that? The little squares. I can't remember the word I'm looking for. And then here's a gray one, but they have all different colors. So that's great for filler pages, or if you want to put mats down for pictures and you don't want to cover up the pretty design. You will be using chipboard for this project. This is 12 by 12 sheets from the store. And then also seam binding always adds a little extra. I will be using quite a bit of seam binding, whether it's on tags or when I cover the coils on the cinch binding. So I add a variety of different colors that way. I just decided if I've got these tools, I need to use them, and you might be in the same boat that I am. So that's why I selected the cinch project. So I'm going to go ahead and get some measurements and cut out some paper so that you can join along if you would like to make this album. Remember that all of the materials that I'm using came from Country Craft Creations. So let's go ahead and get our chipboard cut. So let's do the chipboard pieces, like I said, and the measurements, like I said, I'm going to do it a little bit smaller than my original book. So the chipboard, you're going to need 2 pieces that are 6.5 by 9.5. and 1 piece of chipboard that's 2 inches by 9.5 for the spine. Okay, so our book will be, I think, just the perfect size. Now I'm going to also have you cut out the base pages, not the envelope page that's on the left, but the right hand side that we're going to cinch together. So all of these papers we end up folding in half to make a 6-inch wide page. So you're going to start with 5 inches by 12 inches and work your way to 9 inches by 12 inches. So you need one that's 5 by 12, one that's 5.5 by 12, 6 by 12, 6.5. So they go in 1/2 inch increments. Now it's going to take quite a few, not quite a few, but a couple sheets of paper. But to me, it makes sense to do the 5-inch page with the 7-inch page so that you get 2 pieces out of 1 piece of cardstock, because 5 and 7 is 12. You could also do another combination of maybe 6 and 5, and then 5.5 and 6.5. So combine your numbers to get the best use out of your paper, if that makes sense. So here are the measurements if you want to pause and cut papers out. So you're starting at 5 by 12, going in 1/2 inch increments to 9 by 12. Okay. So those are the measurements. I'm going to start by scoring my paper. So as you can see, I'm using the chocolate brown, and they go in 1/2 inch increments. So the scoring is very simple and basic. Let me get my score tool. Taking each piece of paper with the 12-inch side going across the top, you're just going to score at 6 inches. And do that for all of your pieces, so that they fold in half to make that 6-inch width. Okay. Again, this is the artisan cardstock from Country Craft Creations. It's a linen-based cardstock, which means it's very strong. When you fold it, you're not going to see any cracking, which is nice. You hate to do a project and then find out that the paper quality is not up to par and starts to crack on you. All right, so now that's all the scoring for those base pages. This is a fast album to give as a gift, especially now if you don't have a cinch tool, you know that you can just use your paper punch or your crocodile, punch holes, and use the metal rings too. So whatever you have, you can make this work. So now you're just going to burnish on your score lines. Now do double check that your pages line up nice and neat. Sometimes you do get off just a hair, and so you want to make sure that you adjust as needed. Now we're going to attach these like so that this side is closed, this side will be open for a pocket. So we're going to end up gluing the top and the bottom closed. Okay, that's the plan. So let's go ahead and continue burnishing, checking to make sure everything lines up nice and neat. So I kind of hold it and then bring my burnishing tool down just to make sure I get it nice and lined up. For those of you who are new, when you fold your paper, make sure that the mountain part, so when I scored on my scoreboard, this is the side I scored on. So I want to fold it by turning it upside down and folding it in half that way, if you were not aware of that. Okay, so I hold it up here to make sure it's lined up where I want and bring it down to get rid of, or to make sure it's lined up correctly. Most of the time my lines line up, but just in case, I am using a silicone, I think it's called silicone. No, not silicone. What's that called? The score tool that I'm using, or the burnishing tool, I absolutely love. I have it in a different size too. I have it in this one and I like it, but somehow I got a little, I don't know if you can see, just a little bit of a groove in there. And so now when I use it to burnish, you can see a line, and I can't have that. So I need to invest in another one. It is my favorite, but they're not cheap, so gotta wait until I absolutely 100% sure I need one. I use this one the most though. So I've seen a couple things made with this paper line. It's absolutely adorable. I was watching the Tammy made a little memory type book using the Companions paper, which is super cute. So if you go to actually I think that's on the Authentique page that she did that, but she also has a Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations page, and she does tutorials on Friday nights, free tutorials just like we do on YouTube. They're free. So if you're a beginner or if you're looking for ideas, that would be a great place to start. Okay. All right, so these pages, we're going to stack them. I like to do it in order just to make sure I have everything the way it's supposed to be. Okay, so those are the pages that flip on the cinch binding. Now, like I said, the side that's open is to the right. So we're going to place a thin line of glue on the top and the bottom to close those off, and it will still be open on the right so that you can insert some sort of mat or tag. Okay, now I use the art glitter glue from the store. You know, people caution you from using score tape on things like this because you don't want anything to get stuck in your pocket. And so if you were to use the score tape, it stays sticky, and so things can get attached, and then it's hard to pull things in and out, but it works. It's just that you want to use whatever's best for the project, and to me it's a wet glue. So I'm just going to go through and keep doing this. A thin line on each side, the top and the bottom. Okay, I'll come back after I have all that done so you don't have to watch. The next thing I cut out was the inserts for the pages. So remembering that you glued at the top and the bottom, depending on how far in you went, you might have different measurements than I do. So what I did is I took a scrap piece of paper, and this is my smallest piece, which is 5 by 6. So I tried putting a 4.5 inch sheet in there, and I couldn't get it to go in nice and neatly because I must have put my glue in just a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch on each side. So I cut it down to 4 inches, and I placed it inside to see if that would go in nice and neat, and that one went in much easier. Okay, so I started the first one 1 inch smaller than the height. Okay, so this was 5 inches. I ended up going 4 inches. Now I am going to do it 6 inches deep, and I'll have a pull tab on the end. So I didn't cut this one yet, but you might have different measurements. Again, to save paper, now I went with a different color. If you look at the Companions collection, there's browns and you'll see some beige. So I have a lot of this color paper, so I thought might as well use this rather than all my brown. So you do it whatever color you want. Here are the measurements that you're going to need. You're going to need 1 in each of these sizes. I used 8.5 by 11 sheets. So again, to save paper, I combined things to get the most out of my paper. So I know that it's a 8.5 by 11. And so I combined the 4 and the 7, the 4.5 and the 6.5, the 5 and the 6. So I could get 2 out of 1 piece of paper, if that makes sense. Okay. So here are the measurements I used, starting with 4 by 6. I went in 1/2 inch increments all the way down to 8 by 6. So if you want to write that down. So when you're done, this also looks like a waterfall, okay, because they're 1/2 inch increments. So we're going to end up covering these with decorative paper. I go 1/8 of an inch smaller. So when I go to mat this, instead of doing 6 inches across, I'm going to do 5 7/8. And instead of doing this 4 inches, I will go 3 7/8. So I do a 1/8 inch shorter on each side. Okay, so those are the inserts. The next thing we're going to do is the cover. If you are not familiar with covering an album using the paper, you continue to watch. If you are very familiar with it, go ahead and fast forward this part. But you are going to need your chipboard pieces, and we're going to lay them out like so. And I'm going to do this in the chocolate brown color. So rule of thumb, I like to do 1 inch on higher and lower than my chipboard. So if my chipboard measured 9.5 inches tall, I'm going to cut my paper 11.5 inches so that I have 1 inch on the top to fold over and 1 inch on the bottom to fold up. So I go 1 inch on each side. It doesn't have to be that long. I mean, you could go 1/2 inch too, that's fine. I do leave a 1/4 inch gap in between my chipboard pieces, and I'll use score tape to help me keep that equal. Some people use a couple widths of chipboard and then just put it in between so that they know, but I use score tape. And we're going to have to, after we lay that out, I want 1 inch on my left and my right hand side too. So right now I'm looking at this being about 15.5 inches across. And so I need to add 1 inch on each side, so that's 17.5 inches across. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces of paper. They're going to be, what did I say? 11.5, and then I'm going to end up having to glue 2 pieces of paper together so that I get 17.5. Okay, so let me get my paper prepped. I had a piece of 5-inch paper left over from when I was cutting my base pages, so rather than waste that, I'm going to go ahead and use that. So I'm just going to have to be, I'm not going to have a full inch on each side, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my art glitter glue. I used to use the score tape to combine my 2 pieces of paper, and you can do that, but I have also got a tip. I don't remember who it was from. Maybe it was Tammy from the store. And then you don't have any gapping. So I just do a thin line, and don't want that. And I try and get it as close to the edge as possible. Come on. And I'm going to have my dry baby wipe ready because I have a feeling there's going to be some that comes out. I'm going to use the grid on my board here and make sure I have it straight. Line everything up. Okay. And I'm just going to do a real small overlap. Okay. And I'm going to turn this over, get rid of any excess glue here. And I'm going to go ahead and burnish it real well to make sure that that it's attached and adhered real well together. Okay, so my paper measures, what is it? About 16 3/4. Okay, so I'm not going to have 1 inch on each end, remember. So now you do need to put adhesive on the back of your chipboard pieces. I have been purchasing the 6x6 sheets from Country Craft Creations of score tape. They come in different measurements. There's also an 8.5 by 11 sheet, but I figured I could use this on one on each, cut this one in half, and then just use a thin line on the side. So I'm going to go ahead. Remember, our chipboard is 6.5 inches across, and these score sheets are 6 inches. And it's a great time saver. I'll go ahead and put one on this one. You just want to make sure it's on adhered real tight. So now that other 6x6 sheet I'm going to cut in half. Let's see, I'll just do this right here. So this looks like about, how much is that, 1/4 of an inch? So I need to go to 3 1/4. I'm just going to eyeball it. I guess it doesn't matter if it's perfect. Okay. Yep, and then I'll fill in the spaces with the 1/2 or 3/8 inch score tape. See how much time this saves? Whew. Some people do use glue. I haven't got to that point yet. I feel more confident using the score tape on my covers. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest with my other score tape, and I'll do my spine. I have all this score tape on the back of my chipboard pieces, and once again I laid it out to eyeball to see how much space I had on each end. I'm going to use my ruler, and I'm placing it at 1 inch so I can, oh, you probably can't see that. I'm going to use the grid on my mat along with this ruler, and I'm going to place the ruler at 1 inch because I know I have a 1 inch border at the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to line that up so I can just bump the chipboard up against it and keep it straight. And I'm going to go just a hair over 1/2 of an inch because it looks like that's going to work the best with the measurements of my paper. So I'm going to take the backing off of my score tape. Oops, I bumped my ruler. And when you use these sheets, taking off the backing is super fast. If I can get that. Saves a lot of time. Okay, so I'm going to press down on my ruler so it doesn't move on me. I'm going to butt my chipboard up against that ruler, and like I said, I'm just going to go a little bit more than 1/2 of an inch, not much, because I don't want to run out of room on the other end. Okay, and I'm going to press down real well. Now, you do want a gap between your spine and your front and back pages, okay? So you would never just put it right next to it. You need a little bit of a space. Some people, like I said, just leave a space. They eyeball it. They might use a couple widths of chipboard to help them. I use score tape as a guide because you want your book to be able to fold nicely. And if you don't have a large enough gap in between the two, that's when you have an issue. So I'm going to turn my paper the other direction. And I'm going to place 1/4 inch score tape up against this page right here. Get it as close as I can. Okay. And now I'll turn it back the other direction. Line it up on my grid just to keep the paper straight. Get my ruler and put it at 1 inch. And now I can lay my spine down. I used to be kind of intimidated by the covers, and now I actually enjoy doing the covers. Okay, press down so that doesn't move. Butt this up as close to the score tape as you can. There's your spine. Press down real well. So our next step is another piece. You need another gap. Yep. You're going to need another gap of about 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to use score tape again. Okay. And now the back cover. This one I have to be careful. I don't want to run out of room. I need at least a 1/2 inch on the edge. I like to do an inch, but like I said, to save paper, I did. It was a little bit shorter. But as long as you have a 1/2 inch, you should be able to wrap your chipboard just fine. Okay, hold that down so it doesn't move. There we go. And let's see what my, about 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch bigger than a 1/2. I mean, yeah, a 1/2. So it's about 9/16 over here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and flip this over on the other side. Just burnish it real well to make sure that score tape is attaching. All right, so now to prep the inside, you place, I use 1/4 of an inch score tape around the perimeter of the chipboard, so all the way around. And then I do use 3/8 of an inch score tape on my paper all the way around, okay? I would rather use too much on this part than not enough. Okay, and then we end up wrapping it. After I put my score tape down, I do miter my corners. I happen to have this tool that I use. You don't have to have this tool. You can just use your X-Acto knife and cut it off. But remember, you don't want to cut it right up against the corner of your chipboard because you don't want to see that coming through your paper. So this tool just makes sure that I leave enough of a border so that I don't have any chipboard showing when I wrap my cover. Okay, so let's go ahead and place our score tape around the perimeter. And this goes pretty quickly. Another thing I just bought, this tool, it was in the painting section. I'm sure it's not as durable as I would like, but this is kind of handy for cutting off the score tape too. I've seen people use other things that they had it around, like there's a yellow ruler thing that a square that you can use. You don't have to have it, but sometimes my finger gets sore or I don't get a straight cut, and that drives me nuts. So this just kind of helps keep it nice and neat. I saw someone using it. They were using this kind of tape in their planner, and they were cutting washi tape with it, and I thought, I think I could find that pretty handy. Okay. Cracks me up. Every time I'm down here crafting, my watch tells me, oh, it's time to stand up. I don't have time to stand up. I'm doing my crafting. Okay, burnish that on. And now let's do the same thing with the 3/8 inch. Get rid of this ruler right here. This isn't 3/8. Where's my 3/8? Oh, right there. Okay. And I'm not going to go all the way to the corner because I'm going to end up cutting that off, remember? So I'm just going to start about right there. Put it along the edge. Try to get it to the very edge of your paper. My score tape's about out on this roll. Will I make it? 2 more sides to do. Nope, didn't make it. Darn it. Okay, what I'm going to do is just finish with, I have some 1/4 left on this one. Instead of getting up and getting a new one. I used to use 1/4 of an inch anyway, but I just converted to the 3/8 not too long ago. So this works. Okay. And now I just want to burnish again to make sure that my score tape is attached to my paper and chipboard. I have a little cutting board that I use. Even though this mat is supposed to be, you're supposed to be able to cut on it, I don't like the marks it leaves, so I just put that underneath there. I'm going to get my handy dandy knife here. I've just placed this on the corner and take that corner off, and it should be just the right amount. For those of you who don't have that, you can see how much I left there, about 1/8 of an inch-ish on the corner. Let me do all 4 corners that way. And the last one. Okay, mitered all 4 corners. Now what I like to do is to train my paper, or to give it a memory, and so you just bend, bring your book up and bend it so that it's folding at the end of your chipboard. Okay. And do that on all 4 sides. Okay. Now, another thing, what I'm about to do is optional. You don't have to do it. But it is to put a bead of glue along the chipboard. It softens the fibers in the paper and it gives you a smooth corner as you burnish it around the edges, but you don't have to do that if you don't want. Oh, I always forget this part. I need to take the backing off of all. I'm going to take all the backing off at one time. I took off most of the backing off my score tape. I'm going to go ahead and place a thin line of the glue up against the chipboard. And then just let it kind of sit for a second. When I push my paper over the chipboard, I'm going to start in the middle and kind of work my way out to try and get rid of any bubbles that I might have. So have your burnishing tool handy. You might need that. I try and use as much of my hand as possible. That sounds weird, but I'm just not going to take a little finger here and there. I really want to push it out with my hands. So starting, I'm using my thumbs as in the palm of my hand to push it up and over. Using my palms on the chipboard, I got those sides down. I'm going to go ahead and burnish like crazy. Depending on what paper you're using, be careful. You don't want to make a hole or anything. Kind of push it in between there. I am going to lift on the sides and just burnish to make sure it's attaching to the chipboard real well. Okay. Fabulous. Let's do it again. I do the long sides first. I'm going to place the glue up against the chipboard. You know, I've heard people say if you're going to go to this much time making an album, you might as well make sure it's durable and it's going to stay together. So it's worth it to add the extra score tape, the glue, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so start using my thumbs and my palms. I'm pushing keeping the book still with my hand, using my palms and my thumbs to bring it up. Okay. Just furnish it. And the two short sides too. Bring that out so you can see a little bit more. Okay. Glue. Now with my tool, I should be able to cover my chipboard corners. So I'm going to poke in or push in these corners that have a little bit of excess to make sure it's covering that chipboard. There are other ways of covering. Some people make a square. They cut up on one piece and over on the other, and that they have luck with that. So I'm just going to bring this up like I did the other side. I'm gonna burnish. And on the edge. Last side. Tuck those corners in. So there wasn't as much on this end, but it still wrapped just perfect. So 1/2 inch will totally work. This will be covered up with paper anyway, so. Going gently in between my spine and my covers. Okay, looking good, looking good. Now this is where the paper was connected. I always put that to the back of my book. Okay, so now we're going to cover the inside. I'm using the brown paper. If you want to use decorative paper, you can do that. I'm going to, the book was 9.5 inches tall. So let's say, let's go 9, oh goodness, 9 3/8, I guess. Let's do 9 3/8 tall. So I'm taking a 12 by 12 sheet and I'm going to cut it to 9 3/8 inches tall. Okay, so that's going to go like so. And you'll notice that we're a hair short. I had this piece left over from when I was cutting out my base pages. So I'm going to use that, and there'll be just the right amount of overlap. And I need to cut that to 9 3/8. Okay, and that will go like so. So that's our next step, is to cover the inside. Now, I have not had luck lately with using the art glitter glue to put this in. I get ripples right in here when I'm trying to place it. So I'm going to just go with score tape this time. And what I'm going to do, and I want to see if I notice a big enough difference, I'm going to take my 3/8. Now I hope this roll works. I was coming home from the retreat in Washington and I had some art glitter glue and I put it in a baggie, and then I put that baggie inside of another bag, and it's still glue went everywhere. So there was some glue that got on my score tape, but hopefully I can still use it. I had a mess to clean up when I got home. So I'm just going to make sure that I have some score tape on my spine so that I can feel that where the glue got on there. just to make sure that spine lays nice and flat, and I'm hoping that'll do the trick. How do I want to do this? I'm also going to put score tape along the perimeter of this, and maybe I'll fill in with glue. That's what I'm going to do. So score tape on the perimeter, glue on the inside, but I'm not going to put glue where the spine is, just because of the luck I've had. And maybe it's just me, maybe I'm not doing it right, but I don't like those ripples and bubbles. Okay, let's go ahead and burnish it so it's on real well. So I'm just going to put glue on this side and leave that middle section alone. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to also put a piece of score tape here and here. On the edge of that chipboard, the front and back cover. Maybe that will do what I want it to do. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and peel that off. And now in the last book I made with just using glue, I ended up covering it with paper and you really couldn't see it, but I knew it was there, and that's all it took, and it drove me crazy. So alright, so now I'm going to take the backing off of my paper. Ooh, I had this upside down. I'm glad I noticed. Remember, I want this seam in the back, so I want the seam on the right hand side. Okay. So I'm going to go to about there. You can hear the texture in this artisan cardstock when I put the glue on. It's not a flat, it has texture because of the linen. Alright, let's hope this does the trick. So I need to get close to this. Okay, so let's burnish the heck out of this. And the test will be when I fold my book. So here's the indentation for where the covers meet. I want to make sure I push that paper into that. Nope, I'm still going to get some bubbles. So bubbles you just have to work out. Ooh, I hate bubbles. Now it looks better in my spine using that score tape, but I can see over here. Oh yeah, that's much better than just using glue. Alright, I've learned. Okay. And now I'm going to push this side. Now some people do tear their paper at this point if you're not careful. It depends on the brand of paper you're using. So be careful. Don't be too rough. Okay, that was perfect. Much better than glue. much better. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add, now this will be covered, so that seam you won't notice. I'm going to go ahead and put score tape around the edge of this piece and fill it in with glue also. And it's economically, it's cheaper to probably use the glue, but I want this book to last, so sometimes you have to go with what's the most durable. That glue is super, super durable and has its perks and benefits, but I'll just stick to this plan. Okay. Feel free to leave a comment if you have a different way of covering your book. We can learn from one another. This is always how I've done it. My husband just got home from work. Okay, glue, and this again is the Art Glitter glue. I have the metal tip that makes a finer line come out. Okay, and I just want to line this up with the other piece and the edge here. And there we go. So the cover is complete. I'm going to move on to the left-hand side of the book. I ended up deciding to add a flap so that if she wanted to add a 5x7 photo, there'd be a large section for that. So here are some measurements that you're going to need. This one is 6 3/4 by 9 3/8, and this is going to be the flap. And so it's going to go here and then open, and then there'll be the envelope here. Okay, so I wanted this flap for a large picture. So here is the measurement for that one. I have some other things written on here. I don't want to confuse you. So that's 6 3/4 by 9 3/8, and on the 6 3/4 inch side, we're going to score at 1/2. Okay. I'm also going to round the corners, so the two on the right hand side. Okay, let's go ahead and burnish on that score line. Burnish, where's my, oh, there it is. Okay, so that's going to be a flap. We're done with that. And now we're going to make the accordion envelope or pocket that goes on the left hand side. So you're going to need 3 sheets of paper. One is 6 by 10 3/4, 6 by 10 3/4. Sorry, there's a shadow. The numbers on the right hand side are where I'm going to score. Okay, you need one that is 9 by 8, and I'm going to show you how to score that one. 9 by 8, and then the last one is going to be 7 by 3 1/4. Sorry, that's not the easiest way to do that, but okay, so let's start with the 3 1/4 inch piece, 3 1/4 by 7. We're going to score it 1/2 inch on 3 sides to make a pocket. So 1/2 on the 7 inch side, turn it, 1/2 on the 3 1/4 side, turn it one more time so it's on the 7 inch side, 1/2. That's going to be a pocket, so let's go ahead and cut out those corners. I do them at an angle to get rid of some bulk. While we're at it, I'll go ahead and burnish. On all 3 sides. This will become the pocket on the front of the envelope where we put tags. So and the tags will be long enough that it will keep the flap closed. Okay, so that's done. The next one is the 9 by 8. So go ahead and place the 9-inch side across the top, and you're going to score it 1/2, 1, and 1 1/2. 1/2, 1, 1 1/2 all the way down. Turn your paper and do the same thing on the other side. The 9 inches is at the top. 1/2, 1, 1 1/2. And then turn your paper to the 8-inch side. And on the 8-inch side, I went ahead and did 3/4 instead of 1/2 because I'm going to be attaching it to a back piece, and I just wanted to make sure it was easy to attach. So I did 3/4. Okay, let's go ahead and prep this piece then. So I'm going to burnish. And now when you fold these, it's going to be an accordion pocket or envelope. So the score that's closest to the large part, you're going to score in. Does that make sense? Okay, so I have folded them back. Now on the next score line, you're going to score it forward. I'm making sure things line up. And then on the last score line, it goes back the other direction again, so to the back. Okay, so if you were to look at it, it would look kind of like a W or an M. So up, down, up, down. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. This first score line, fold to the back. The next score line, you're going to fold towards the front. And the next one goes to the back. Okay, so that's how you get your accordion sides, so that you have some depth to add things. Okay, now when I look at this, I can see some of this hanging out, so I need to readjust my scoring so that I cannot see that. So I'm just going to burnish it so that I don't see anything poking out the side. This one's just a hair. So the good thing about paper is that you can easily manipulate it or change it as needed. Okay, so now when I fold it, I don't see anything poking out the sides here. Okay, now we are going to get rid of the bottom corners. So I see 1, 2, 3 little rectangles at the bottom. We're going to cut those out, and we're going to angle it on like so. So angle this, and then cut out those 3 rectangles. So it looks like that. Same on the other side. I'm going to angle and then cut off the 3 rectangles. So this is what you're cutting off. Okay, so this, if we push in the 2 sides, bring up the bottom, that's going to be the base of our pocket. Okay, now we're going to end up attaching it to a back piece. I found this to be the easiest. Okay, and then we're going to bring this over for the flap. So what I want you to do next, let me double check my measurements. 7 1/4. Yeah, okay. Next I want you to take the last piece, which is 6 by 10 3/4, and have your paper on the 10 3/4 inch side. And I'm going to have you score at 7 3/8 and 7 7/8. That's not right. Oh, I did 3/4 instead of 3/8. Ugh, let me try and get that out. Wasn't paying attention. See if I can get rid of that score mark. I don't think you'll be able to see it for this part of the project anyway. That's better. Okay, let's try that again. I gotta watch what I'm doing. 7 3/8, so that's the one mark before the 1/2 inch mark. 7 3/8. And then 7 7/8. Okay. Let's burnish. Okay. So we do have a 1/2 inch gusset. I am going to round the corners, so on the short piece on the right and the left. Okay. All right, so this is going to be attached to this like so, and we have our envelope, our accordion pocket. So let's attach these two pieces. So this one's going to go on the bottom. I was going to use glue, but I think it'll be easier if I use score tape. So let me get my score tape as it falls out. Okay, so place score tape on the accordions on the right hand side and on the bottom. And I just am using 3/8 here. Okay, and you just do one on that inside fold. And this one. Oops, just dropped my tape. I need to put it somewhere where it's going to quit falling. I'll do that in a minute. Okay. So what you do is you take off the backing on the sides first. Bring up the bottom so that it sticks to that bottom section. Okay. And now we're going to take off that backing. And we're going to attach it to this, lining it up at the bottom to make sure, and the sides to make sure it lines up right. And let's burnish that real well so it adheres. So now we have a 1/2 inch gusset so that we have space and we have some depth in our pocket. Okay, now like I said, I'm not going to put a closure. I'm not going to use a magnet. You could if you wanted to. Instead, I'm going to have a pocket down here so I can put tags in, and that will keep it closed. So now we're going to take our pocket that we've already scored and burnished, and that's just going to be attached at the very bottom. Okay, so again, I'll go ahead and use score tape because I have it out and ready. And on the sides, you know what, let's go ahead and miter this just so you can't see it, the top corners. go ahead and remove the backing. And the bottom one. Okay, bring in your two sides first and then bring up the bottom so it catches and it sticks. And then line that up at the bottom and the sides. And burnish. Now, I'm not going to tell you what size tags to put in. I would just look at your scraps, and then whatever size you have left, that's the route you want to go to save paper. So like I have this scrap left, so I'm going to use that. I'll probably make it more narrow so it looks more like a tag, but I could definitely use this. I have this left, so I might cut this in half and use those two as tags also. So just go with your scraps, whatever size you have. Just make sure they're tall enough so that it will keep your pocket closed. Okay. I should have done this before, but because it's accordion, it will be easy to do. I'm going to cut a little half circle. I'm going to eyeball the center so it's easier to get in and out of that pocket. Okay. So I have that. All right, so let's get our book. We're going to place the flap down first, and I'm going to line it up pretty close to the left-hand side. Make sure that this, we cut it at a length or a width that should not cross your over the spine. And I'll go ahead and use glue. Nothing like using a variety, going back and forth. The reason why I'm going to use glue on this one is so I have some wiggle room time in case I need to move it a little bit. Okay. Check to make sure it's even. I'm going to open it, press down. Okay. Now, before I put this pocket in here, I am going to put decorative paper on. You know what? That's going to be, I'm going to have to, I didn't even think about that. Maybe I'll put this here. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'll put the pocket on the outside, and then the opening, there'll be a lot of room in here. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah, I like that better. Okay, and the reason why I have to do that is because I didn't do another score here to give it some depth, to cover the depth of this pocket. So I'll just put it on the outside, and then I'll open it, and I'll have room for large thing. You could even put pockets on the inside if you want to. Okay, I'm digressing. So before you attach this to this, you'll want to cover this with your decorative paper first. Okay, so I am going to do the covering with the decorative paper off camera. What I do is I measure everything I'm going to cover, and I go 1/8 of an inch smaller. So like my flap, this is 6 inches, so I'm going to go 5 7/8, and it is 2 7/8, so I'm going to go 2 3/4. That's the size I would cut my paper, so go 1/8 inch smaller. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start cutting some of my decorative paper, and I will come back and show you what it looks like once I have that done. I'm trying to decide, I don't think I need a magnet here. I think the weight of this will keep it down. Okay, all right, I'll be back. Everything is now matted, and that took about 1 full paper pack to do this project. So here is the envelope. I put paper on this front pocket, on the base part, on the flap, and then I put a strip on our gusset, but I did not put any on the inside. The back, I went ahead and put score tape on because we're going to be attaching that to our book. Okay, so there's that. All of the pages are covered front and back. I did solid colors on the back of all of them. Now, if you have paper that you need to pay attention to the direction of the pattern, make sure that when you put this side the correct way, that when you flip up, that's going the correct way. On my other book, I put one upside down by mistake. So you can't just put your pattern on and then flip it over and do it if it's directional. So let me show you what I mean. You can't just do this and then turn it over and put it there, because when you lift it up, your dog will be upside down. Okay, so I went ahead and looked at the color combinations, tried not to have any repeats close by one another. Okay, so front and back of all those. And then I went ahead and matted just the front of our mats, of our inserts that go inside of the pockets. I used this punch. Can you see? There's a glare. I used that punch, and I put tabs on the side, and I did not do the back. Okay, all of them are empty on the back for writing or for pictures. Okay, so we're not going to put these in our pockets until we do the punching and assembling. So what you're going to, I also covered my actual book. There's a dog on the bottom there. And I love that paper. It had to be on the front. So I'm trying to decide what I need to put on the front. And also I didn't line up my papers very well on this binding. There's more space up here than on here, down here with the brown paper. So I'm going to have to find something, ribbon or lace or I don't know, something I'm going to have to put to wrap that and cover it up, because I don't like how it's not even. Did the inside. Everything's covered. It's fine. So the first thing I want to do is the right hand side with the cinch machine, because we have to put this book in our cinch, so we want it to be as flat as possible. So what you're going to need to do is, now remember, if you don't have a cinch machine, you can punch holes, and I would do 3 holes and then put rings instead. So let me get organized here. Now you're going to need I don't remember, I call them coils, but I know there's another name for it, but it needs to have 11 of the rings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, 11 of those. And I'm going to move my cinch machine over, and hopefully you'll be able to see somewhat. So all of this is pushed all the way to the right, okay, because this is a 6-inch paper. Remember, you have a guide right here, and our pages are 6 inches. So it tells you to pull out peg 12. So all of my pegs are in except for 12. I pulled that one out. Now, to me, it's always good to do a sample piece first. So I'm going to get a piece of 6-inch paper just to make sure it's lined up correctly. The last thing you want to do is punch it wrong. So let me get one real quick. Okay, so this is 6 inches across. I'm going to butt it up against this guide, push it as far in as I can, and push down. So as we look at that, that should be perfect. You have a little bit of space on each end. Okay, now when you do your book, I'm going to have to move this out so I have room, and I'm going to place my book. I'm not really going to center it because I want it closer to the left hand side than the right hand side. Because I have those tabs sticking out, I don't want it to come outside of my book. So I'm going to eyeball it, which I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but and make sure it's pushed all the way in, and I'm pushing hard. So let's see if that looks about right. We don't want it to get in the way of this fold. I think that's about right. So let me just make sure that it's lined up and pushed in all the way. This is pretty thick chipboard. Now we cross our fingers, say a little prayer, push down. Ooh, this is hard. Okay, here we go, the moment of truth. I think we did it. And there are our holes. Now, yes, there's more space over here, but remember, let's see if I can line this up. Ooh, that's gonna be close. But it works, I hope. I think I got that lined up right. Well, time will tell. Okay, so now we're going to do all of our pages. I have a nervous feeling. Okay, so now I'm just going to, again, all the pegs are in except for 12. I'm going to do one page at a time. Don't have your inserts in here, have it empty. You push it up against this guide, push it in as far as it will go, and push down. Okay, now I just need to check. If this doesn't line up, I'm going to be sad. Oh, it works. Woohoo! Okay, so it'll line up without getting in the way of the spine. So I'll do one more on camera, and then I will finish the holes, and then we'll put the spiral in. So this is pushed all the way in. You push, make sure you've got your pocket opening on the right hand side. Push it up against that guide. Push it back as far as it will go. Peg 12 is out. And there's our next one. And it should be lined up just perfect. Okay, so I'm going to keep doing all of my pages, and then we will add the pages to the book. Now that I have all the holes punched, I went ahead and put my O-ring, I think that's what they call it, O-ring, in the side here that holds it. And we're going to place the pages first in the right order on the pegs, making sure it goes through all of them. Okay, so that was easy enough. Now remember, when you use the cinch, you want your back cover to go on top so that you can flip it over, and just like so. So the cover is actually going to be on the top. Okay, so you see that? And I'm going to be able to flip over the top. So now we need to use the back and place the O-ring on the inside so that it's facing the back wall. Make sure your hands are out of the way, and you push down. And that's not closed enough for me, so I'm going to make it smaller. Put it back in. Okay, I think that's good. Let me just get this end again. All right, and so now, sorry, I'm not holding on the camera. So now we just take this and flip it over, and it is attached. Yay! Okay, and it's real easy to flip through. Now you can put your side pieces in. Okay, and because of how we, oops, this one's a little tight, the other ones aren't. And then we'll just keep doing that all the way down. I'll do that in a little bit. I'll finish that off camera. So now it's time to add our envelope here. Now again, if you wanted to add pockets on the inside, you could. I'm just going to have a big picture of her dog here, and then that little tag that says meet me, or meet me at the Rainbow Bridge or something, and then she can put individual pictures here. So we've already put our score tape on. I am going to try and center it top and bottom, but it is pretty much the width of this page. Okay, so you just want to make sure that you get it as centered as possible. So I'm going to start taking off my score tape. I'm not quite sure yet how to decorate this. It's got to be flat, so my decorations will probably mainly be stickers, but I'll see what I can come up with. And I want the room for pictures on this one. My sister currently has 3 dogs. And they're all big dogs too. I don't know how she does it. Okay, so I'm going to stand up for this to make sure I can see okay. And I'm going to look at the top and the bottom, look at the sides. And I think that's good. Just push down real firmly. Okay, now you know that this flap's open, but that's because we haven't put a tag in yet. So that'll be my next step, is to make tags that go in here that will keep that closed. Okay, so I think I will go ahead and decorate, and then I will come back and show you what I came up with. I did some decorating and I did keep the pages flat. Let me show you what I did, and then there's only one more step and then I am done with the book. The front cover, I ended up doing a shaker element. I love blingy, shaky, sparkly stuff. And I just did it in a oval frame. I had some mats, and so I just used that because it was easier. Put a bow, flower. This is a sticker that I mounted on the cardstock, and you can see I bumped it up a little bit. I used the stickers for the pennant flag down here that says "So Cute." Have a sticker on the side, and I just put a little sticker on the back that said "Love." So nothing much on the back. On the inside, I have some tags. Basically, they're the cut aparts that keep the flap down. So the only bummer thing is that I can't see the love on here, but you can see it when you take that out. But that keeps that closed. This is a cut apart on brown paper. I had a silver like charm, and I just put one of the stickers in there and cut around it and put a bow on top of it. And then sticker, everything on my pages is basically a sticker or a cut apart that's mounted on the paper. And so I left things open so that pictures could be tucked in. But, oh, let me do this side first. I almost forgot. So this is the page that I'm going to put a picture of her dog that passed away. And I kept calling him Murphy. Murphy died a long time ago. The one that died just recently is Blazer. So that would have been terrible if I put his name on there and I put the wrong dog's name. Anyway, this will be a big picture of her dog, and then she can add pictures over on the side. I did not do anything with the pages that I slip inside here. I just left those plain for pictures or journaling. The backs are plain, so they can just journal on those, or she can just journal on those. So let me start at the beginning and just flip through real quick. I don't want to bore you. Just did a sticker here. This is a cut apart, glued it on 3 sides, put a tag in. Best friends, that left it open on the sides, 2 sides, so that something can be slipped in. This was from the paper, the bone, I just cut that out. Love. I just used my extra paper for mats. She can just use whatever she has or just glue them straight on the paper if she wants. But being as I had extra, I just put some in. Sticker on the top. This one I did not, yeah, this one I left open. I need to put a tag in here now that I remember. I'll put a tag in this one. And obedience is highly overrated. I know she has a picture of her dog with the garbage can lid on it wrapped around his neck because he was digging in the garbage. So that'd be a great picture right here. The little angel dog here. Cute. Love my dog, or love me my dog. Cut apart. Playtime saying. This page just says woof, and then I just added some small pieces of brown paper that were left over, just made a little tag. And then this one says family dog, and I put those 2 down there. So I think it'll be perfect for her just to add pictures. The only thing I need to do now is put seam binding across my wire so it adds, so it just gives it some color. So what I'm going to do is I have 3 colors. I have blue, beige, and then a dark brown. So I'm going to cut the 3 colors for each of the O-ring sections, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I'll be cutting 33 total. I am going to quickly burn the edges so they don't fray. So all I do is just, and I don't do it very often, but I'm just going to, if I can figure out the lighter. Okay, it worked earlier. Give me a sec. Oh, just real quick. Oh, that almost caught on fire. Just to seal it so it doesn't fray. So I'm going to do 3 on each. I'll alternate colors. So this one might be dark brown, then beige, then blue. Then it might be beige, blue, dark brown, just so that it adds some interest. So that's the only thing I have left to do, and then my book is done. So I'll show you a still photo at the end of what it looks like with the seam binding. Again, this was my design team project for Country Craft Creations. The paper line is called Companions by Authentique. You can get the seam binding from the store also. Go ahead and check her out. She has great materials to purchase, and she has great customer service. So I hope you enjoyed my project. Please leave a comment below and subscribe if you have not, and I will continue to bring you some tutorials with the great design team boxes that I'm sent. Thanks, and have a great night.